Ahoy, mate. This afternoon we'll be taking a look at tying the eyeglass strap the sailor's way. Starting off, we'll be using 60 inches of 2mm line for the main strap and 25 inches of 1.5mm for the Turk's head. Knots used will be the lanyard knot, a 4-bight 3-lead Turk's head knot for the adjusting knot, and for the slip knot, we'll be using a fisherman bend with 3 wraps. We'll start off by middling the 2mm line and tying the lanyard knot. Once we have the knot complete, we can go ahead and slip it off of our fingers and get it dressed and the slack taken out, starting by pulling towards the loop end. And then depending on the direction that you're taking your slack out will determine which way that slack will work out. If you take it around this direction first, you'll wind up taking your slack out the working end of the lines. If you go the opposite direction, you'll wind up working that slack out into the loop. So it's generally always better to work in towards the working lines. That way you're not adjusting your size of your loop. To start off, the first pass will just be evening up the strands, not tightening anything down just yet. Now there'll be 2 points in your knot where that line will cross over. From the right side to the left side, that's the transition point from where on the left hand side that line actually feeds out into that working line to the right. Now that the strands are even, we'll go ahead and pull both at the same time. Just wanted to take out the slack again. We don't want to do a really hard tightening up just yet. Here again, we're back to the crossing point. Now with the third pass, we'll go ahead and just even them up again. One thing to note, in case you have to adjust your loop, at the crossing point, if you pull on the upper or the right hand lead, you'll be pulling the slack out of the loop. So you can use that to adjust your loop. Now that they're even again, we'll go ahead and pull on both once more and do the final tighten up. Now I want to go ahead and tie in my fisherman bends from the ends for the slip knots, and I want to measure off from the end of the loop to 11 inches and put a bend on the line. That'll be the point to tie in the fisherman's. We'll go ahead and do 3 wraps around. Makes it a little bit larger knot, a little bit easier to handle, and also it makes it a little bit more attractive. One of the trickiest things to know is which one of the loop lines to pull to slip. If you look, the last wrap will go across the top of one of the leads. That's the permanent lead. The opposite lead will be the one that will slide. I like to go ahead and trim off the excess at this time just to keep them out of the way and help keep it secure. Take a little bit of super glue and you want to put a very small tap right there on the outside edge, making sure that you don't accidentally glue in the line that needs to slip. Once that's dried, we'll go ahead and trim them off right up against the knot for a nice neat look. Next, we'll go ahead and get our 1.5 millimeter line and tie our Turk's head adjusting knot in. We'll do again by middling the line and forming the bite and taking that bite and lay it towards the lower edge where you have the 2 working ends pointing up. Take the right one, lay off to the side, and then with the left, you want to form a bite to the top, making sure that your working end is to the right of the bite. I'm going to go ahead and try to do this on this tabletop. Usually it's tied in the hand, but it might be easier to tell what I'm doing on the tabletop. We'll take the right hand line in, pass it underneath all of your lines and around that bite to the left. And we'll come back around and go through that loop, which basically you're just tying a half hitch around the standing lines. Once that's done, you'll take your working end of the other line, pass it underneath, and make sure you're below that half hitch, and then come up from behind on that loop and pass through from behind to the front, and then just work this slack out To get that into a better form, just make sure you leave slack. Don't tighten down that knot, as you'll need to double those lines. And once you got the most of the slack out, you'll see you have an X right here, and then a line coming up beside it. You'll want to pass to the other side of that X, come underneath that lower lobe, and then pass to the left of the other working line. Here again on the other line, same thing. You want to come underneath that X and pass up and to the left of the other working line that's coming up. And here then, this is the opposite working line where it's coming up. We're going to take this working line and double that to the left or top, all depending on how you're holding your knot. And just follow it. You'll want to alternate too between the two working lines. Don't pass one all the way through the knot, just to keep things nice and even. Also helps keep from tightening that knot down a little bit when you get ready to pass the second one. So it's a good idea to alternate between the two lines. In case you're wondering why I used a smaller line to tie in this Turk's head adjusting knot, there's two reasons. First, when you tie a smaller line around a larger, thicker line, it allows for the knot to be tied down a little bit tighter around it, get a better grip, and gives more resistance there for doing the adjustment. Secondly, if for some reason I decided not to tie those fishermen's in the other primary lines before doing this knot, I always have that potential of accidentally grabbing one of those lines and tying that actually into this adjusting knot if they were all the same size. When you know you're getting to the end is on the opposite side, you'll see your doubled line there. So here I got a single and double on the other, so I want to come up below this X right here, the crossing point, and pass my line up through that and out the opposite side. Here again on my opposite line, I've got a single here, double here. So this crossing point right here is where I'm going to come up with my line and out to the other side. Now we just want to work our slack up to the knot and get it snug down, so we got some good resistance here. When we adjust it, it'll stay adjusted for us. Now we'll go ahead and get the super glue and get these lines ready to be trimmed off. Just want to make sure to use a very small drop right there to the outside of that line, making sure that nothing gets on the inner primary lines running to the center.